Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. So cinecams, they can be incredibly expensive, upwards of 70, 80, even £100,000 or dollars. But, and it's a big but, if you go back a few years and get an older cinecam, such as the one that I'm filming on right now, you can pick up a really good deal. I'm currently shooting on the Canon C100, not the Mark II, the original Canon C100 with a 18 to 55mm, a budget lens, a kit lens actually. Wait there. This is my normal 24 to 105 f4L. It's again a really nice lens. This is normally the lens that I put on here, and let's do that, shall we? Just wait a minute. Just come here. Get rid of that, and then there we go. Oh, now that's the problem with this lens. It's actually really quite tight on here. Let's go back to the 18 to 55. There we go. That's better. Nice wide angle. Anyway, the Canon C100. Why did I pick one up? It's over 10 years old. It's ancient. It has old technology. Well, now I picked up the Canon C100 Mark I for a number of reasons. One, because, well, I kind of like a cinecam. I'd like the flexibility that a cinecam offers over something like my RP. Now, yes, my Canon RP does shoot 4K and it shoots 60 FPS. So does this. Well, this shoots 50i. But I wanted the benefits of a cinecam, but I didn't want to spend loads of money on one, like £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 on an entry-level one. So I went down to my local, oh God, here we go. I went down to my local computer exchange. Hate that shop, but we soldier on. And I brought a Canon C100. So what are we dealing with here? We have an 8 megapixel Super 35 sensor. And a really nice sensor, to be fair. It's downscaled from 4K to 1080p, so I can up-res to 4K again, which is what I always do. As I said, we have 50i. We don't have 50p, but we have 50i. And I can't remember what that is because I didn't do that much research into what that actually means. I'm sure there will be someone in the comments now telling me what 50i is. Anyway, now, this does have its good sides and it has its downsides, and I've been meaning to do this review for a very, very, very long time, at least in terms of me. Normally I can get a product and I can use it for a while and then bang, there's my review done. But not with this one. I had a few things coming up. Anyway, let's gloss over that and get straight into the review. So, as I said a few minutes ago, we have an 8 megapixel Super 35 sensor, which is pretty standard within the cine industry. Now, when this camera came out, it didn't have autofocus because, well, at the time, a lot of high-end cinecams don't actually have autofocus because there's usually someone behind there to manually turn the lens, or you have a little wireless thing, one of them. But a few years after that, Canon released an update, a $400 update for dual pixel autofocus. Here's the problem with that dual pixel autofocus. It only works here. Like, I am not kidding. This, no way, it starts roughly here, goes out, down, and around this center box. That's all you're gonna get, is roughly this little box. So 9 times out of 10, you could be out of focus. So every time I come out of shot, if I come back here, for example, and then I move around a little bit, what I do is I actually push a little button down the bottom here. I sit here and I be quiet for a minute and I don't talk, and I focus on the screen behind me until it's locked focus. Which is annoying because my EOS RP does have continuous autofocus and pretty good continuous autofocus. but I need to remember its age and what it was designed to do. But on the good side of that, I am currently looking at two buttons. One over here is a record button and the other one over here is a focusing button, meaning I can just push that button and I am back in focus again. See, there we go. It's not really that hard, but it would be nice to have autofocus, but it's unlikely to come on this camera. And it's actually one of the reasons why I didn't want to get this camera in the beginning, because like, oh, autofocus, I want autofocus. But I've kind of persisted and I've kind of gotten used to it and adapted my workflow to not have autofocus. And then there is something that I have never had on a camera, and that is dual card slots. Yes, this can record to two SD cards at the same time, or you can choose what you want to do with the two cards. You can dual record, you can record to both of them at the same time, you can have one as a redundant, and yeah. It's really nice to have two 128 gig cards in both slots, and you could just leave it running. You just leave it there. Just leave it running, because I know that the cards aren't going to run out, because the file sizes, well, yes, they are big. They are actually kind of small-ish, unless you shoot in Canon log, which is what I'm doing right now. So, yeah. And then there is a feature that I don't currently use, but I'm going to be, because I'm upgrading my setup still. And that is this top handle. I need to undo it because I'm not actually using it right now. There we go. And that's this. This is the top handle. So you can mount this to the camera here. And then on here is two XLR ports. Now I don't use these at the moment, but having two XLR ports on a handle is really nice, and it plugs directly into the camera. Now I am currently using a 3.5 microphone, one of these little things here, because for me at the moment this is the easiest workflow. But it's nice to have that kind of option if I want to, and I'm going to be expanding my workflow. And there are buttons on this handle. There are record buttons on here. There are audio buttons here. I haven't touched these. I've set them to what was recommended to me, and I've left them because I'm crap with audio. But also, this has a microphone. This handle has a microphone that I have actually used, and it sounds okay. It doesn't sound as good as I probably do right now. Actually, why don't we just, let's change over, shall we? Let's just put you into a little slot. There we go. And turn it down, and then just screw that in. And then I'm going to make it back. So this is the onboard microphone. So yes, no, it doesn't sound amazingly nice. It really doesn't, because, well, to be fair, it's not really meant to sound nice. It's more of an on-camera microphone so that you can synchronize your audio later, whereas I'm not doing that. I usually have this little lavalier microphone here plugged wirelessly transmitting, and then I plug this little receiver into the camera, which is what I'm going to go back to right now. There we go. So now we're back using my little lavalier microphone, which I honestly prefer. Now, because this is, well, let's face it, this is a cinecam. It's designed for cine work or documentaries. This has lots and lots of buttons, and I like buttons. It's nice to have them all. Now, yes, they are really confusing at first because I'm just not used to all them buttons, but they are really, really nice to have. There is a white balance button, a shutter button, a ISO button. It even has ND filters. So I've got a nice exposure. Let's say we go outside and we blow the exposure. Well, I can just slide in up to about 8 stops into this camera. And you can see the filter there, sliding up and down. Let's get that back to normal. There we go. But there are loads and loads and loads of side buttons that are just off camera, and they're all really nice. They're still really clicky, believe it or not. Now, for such an old sensor, it isn't amazing in low light. It's pretty good. The ISO range is pretty good. It does handle low light really quite well. I was even surprised myself, actually. I'll insert some footage right now of quite a dark environment that I was using this camera in, and the footage itself looks remarkably clean. And I was really, really impressed by it. Now, obviously, if you whack that ISO all the way up to the sky, then yes, you are going to get noise. Of course you are. But if you get a reasonable ISO and use the C-Log, you're not going to have any problems. Now, speaking of the C-Log, the files themselves, the C-Log themselves, is really, really nice to work with. But it has a problem. It isn't MP4, it is AVC HD, and not everything can understand an AVC HD file. So if you don't have a laptop with a decoder or encoder, whatever it is, in other words, if you don't have a laptop with an editing software or a computer with editing software that can handle it, no, you probably shouldn't use this camera, full stop. I'm not kidding. It only shoots in AVC HD and some devices do not understand it. I found that out the annoying way because I was hoping to be able to edit these videos on my iPad rather than on my MacBook. But the iPad cannot handle AVC HD, which is annoying. But when you put the SD card into your laptop, your editing software such as DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro should understand it perfectly fine. You can import it from the card to the software and you'll have no problems. Color grading this footage is really nice. This is what I currently actually look like without a color grade. And this is obviously going back to the color grade. It's really easy to work with. There's never, you know, I normally nail my lighting in camera, so I never really have to do that much to actually get, yeah, I just need to add contrast a lot of the time because it takes a lot of contrast out of the image. But it is nice, especially with that night footage that I just showed a minute ago, to be able to actually, I had that little bit of room to, you know, bring up the exposure and not have to worry about introducing too much more noise. And then there is probably my least favorite feature about this camera. And that is, well, I'll show you on my iPhone. So here is the C100. There's the handle that I was telling you about. There's the screen. It doesn't flip out. That is as high as it goes, and that is it. Why can it not? I mean, I know this isn't designed for YouTube, but it's a good display. Like, it goes down there, it goes up here, it goes up there, like that. But yeah, that's all it can do in that field. But the display itself is really nice. It's bright, it's contrasty, it looks really nice. And you get an accurate representation, couldn't think of the word, of what you are actually filming. And you can change everything about it. You can put certain things on there. So right now I have my battery remaining, I have my audio levels here, my battery level and time remaining on the card is up here. And then I've got my exposure just along the bottom here because that's what I find works best for me. But you can change that. Speaking of changes, that reminds me, I hate the menus. The menus on this camera suck. They really suck. Like really, really badly suck. I don't like them. They are, believe it or not, even for Canon, they are unintuitive and just bad menus. They really are really bad menus. They're really hard to navigate. Once you get used to navigating the menu, then it's fine. But other than that, it's a pain in the bum. It really is. And then my favorite feature, I think this is my favorite feature, and that is this wire. You're probably thinking, Alex, why is this wire your favorite feature? Well, that's because you don't need to have a battery. You can, obviously, you can have the battery in and you'll get 2, 3, 4 hours of recording. I'm currently on the battery right now. But this lead plugs into the back of the camera and lets it run on mains. So let's say I'm at an event and I have this camera locked off somewhere, which I very commonly do. And I don't bring a battery with me. I don't have to worry because I've got my mains plug, meaning it can continue to record video even without a battery. And I love that because it means I don't have to worry about batteries. I've got one, and the battery life itself is phenomenal. You can leave it running for 3 hours and you still got another 3 hours left. The battery on this is amazing. It really is. The battery is big, it's powerful, and yeah, I love the battery and this power lead. This power lead is amazing. And then last but definitely not least is its mount. It takes EF and EFS lenses. Right now, as I've already shown you, it's taking currently the EFS 18 to 55 millimeter, but it can also take an EF lens, like, for example, this 70 to 200. Who would have thought to be able to put 2 different kinds of lenses on here? Now I do have the 18 to 55 EFS because it's a wider lens for me. It's not as sharp, it's not as good as my other lenses, but I'm not really that bothered about that because I know the footage from this camera will look really nice anyway. Anyway, guys, this is probably my favorite, maybe my favorite camera. One of my favorite cameras of this, yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining me in this video. See you in the next one.